Welcome back to the Pop of the Man podcast. I'm your host, Jay. With me today, I have the number one Suns fan in the nation. I got Cam with me. What's up, Cam?
Hey, man, you already know what it is. Suns Nation, and on the 21st, I will be the Black Panther.
All right, Cam. Guest starring today, we have returned to us. We have music critic. We have Boston Celtics fan. We got Brandon with us for today. What's up, Brandon?
What's going on? Popular demand's favorite white boy. How you doing?
It's you, then Gordon Hayward, and Bill Simmons. It's top three. Top three. Eminem's a distant. He's like distant ninth, so don't worry about that.
Ninth.
Also, guest on to the first time ever, we have Cam Reddish truther, Atlanta Hawks fan, also rapper. Can't leave that out. We got Jay Trent with us. What's up, Jay?
What's going on, y'all? You know, number one Hawks fan, just like Cam, the number one Suns fan.
Them big facts. I do not know another Hawks fan that go as hard as you do.
I like this.
Hawks. Oh yeah, you know, I think it's so cool that like all the people we have on the podcast is very obscure teams. Because me and Corey are Clippers fans, you're a Suns fan, Jay's a Hawks fan, DeLon's a Timberwolves fan. You know, Brandon's a Celtics fan, but being a Celtics fan ain't in style these days though.
and when we got Daniel, and Daniel's like a Lakers fan.
Yeah, but Daniel cool though. He cool though. But you know what we do? We give you our takes on basketball, music, and everything in between. This episode 121 of the Pop of the Man podcast. I think this will be our last episode of 2020. I ain't really told anybody that, but you know, next week we're releasing the second installment in our album club series, which is basically a series where we sit down with an album that we listened to in the past and we discuss about its place in hip hop. We talk about our feelings about the album when it first released. We sit down and we live with the album, kind of like you would in a book club. The first album we did was Food and Liquor by Lupe Fiasco. That was last month's album. This month we're doing Black on Both Sides. We will release that next Monday, but this will be our last like real episode where we talk like about basketball and music. So thank y'all for tuning in all year. Look forward to making more content for y'all in 2021. So I guess we can go ahead and get started with the first topic. The first topic we'll talk to you guys about is Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek Freak, has re-signed with the Milwaukee Bucks. He signed a 5-year max extension, biggest contract in league history. He'll be making like $50-something million in the last year of his contract. I would say, dare I say, it surprised the entire basketball world. So many people have been speculating that he was going to go to the Warriors. So many people were speculating he was going to go to the Heat. A lot of people thought he might even go team up with AD and Bron on the Lakers. There was a couple people who said he might go to the Clippers. It was a lot of people.
Nobody said that.
A couple people said it. I mean, if me and Cord said, that's a couple people technically. So
okay,
that don't count.
So, but the thing is, he chose to stay, and it seems a little bit unprecedented with the failures they've had in the past two seasons, with them winning 60 wins last year, and not last year, 60 wins 2 seasons ago, and then losing, getting to the bubble, and then flaming out against the Heat. So many people expected him to leave. Cam, how surprised were you that Giannis stayed? Do you think this was a good idea?
So my surprise meter was like 65-35. 65% surprised, 35% not surprised. The 65% came from wow, he decided to stay. You know, he just got beat by Jimmy Butler, and I feel like he was thinking that the Milwaukee Bucks were not doing enough to put a great team around him. But then the other 35% of not being surprised came from, you know, he's a foreign guy. Typically, foreign guys aren't the type of guys to lead franchises like these guys who are raised in the AAU system, who play with all these other great players and like the super team thing. And then on top of that, also, I mean, I feel like he's just a person who grew up poor and was like, all right, I want this long-term security. Like, I know, like, people say, oh, man, it's just a couple $1 million. Like, he'll make that back, yada, yada, yada. But I truly do feel like the comparison of the money he's going to get on this deal in comparison to the max he could have gotten from any other team is, I think the difference is like $70 million, which is a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not surprising to me, but I have another point that I want to make, but I'm going to let them go first before I make my point.
Brandon, Brandon, how you feel about the Celtics having to deal with Giannis for 5 more years, at least?
I mean, we got to deal with Kevin Durant now too. So I mean, it is what it is on that point. Yeah, whatever. I'm not really that shocked, honestly. He didn't seem like the type of guy that wanted to go play with the Lakers or team up with somebody. Like I never really saw him that way. You know, it's I guess it's good for like, you know, the teams that aren't in major cities. That's pretty cool. But I don't know how many guys are really like Giannis until they get that huge check. Because I mean, that's a massive deal, and he should absolutely take that. He deserves it. I don't think it's really like, to Cam's point about like him feeling like the team, like they didn't build a good enough team around him. I feel like they did, and I feel like he realizes it was kind of more on him last year in the playoffs than the team itself. And they got better. I mean, Drew Holiday is definitely an upgrade from Eric Bledsoe, and they still got good role players. They still have Chris Middleton, who hits shots like crazy when he needs to. So I'm not that shocked. I am kind of pissed because we got to deal with them for 5 more years, but we had to play them either way. And like I said, we're going to play the Heat, who just made a finals, the Nets with Kevin Durant and Kyrie, who that's going to piss me off. And then you got the Raptors are still good, the Sixers. So like, it's really not that shocking. So I'm kind of torn about it. Like I wanted him to somehow join the Celtics, but I knew that wasn't going to happen. So I'm happy he got his money.
I'm actually surprised he signed an extension, because he could have easily just waited to the end of the season and then signed, and then, you know, got the same amount of money as he got during the extension. Like it just, you know, he could have just waited and saw, like, let me see how the season goes with the Bucks. You know, it just seemed like they made the most sense. What you about to say, Cam?
I was about to say, so that's what I was going to ask. Is the money the exact same if he had waited and not signed the extension?
I'm pretty, you know what? It might have differed because of the upcoming, like, you know, the new TV deal that's coming with the NBA and things like that. I think that might be also why, like, Bron signed his extension. We talked about that a couple episodes ago. Why Bron signed his extension, why AD signed. Well, AD was already a free agent, so it makes sense. Because we all wonder, like, why did Bron jump the gate? Like, why did he go ahead and sign his deal? Because he could have easily waited a year then signed it. But it could be players are foreseeing a drought of money. And
the salary cap,
with the salary cap changing, the TV deal, how the 72 season might not actually finish. So they said, let me just jump on top of it before we lose out on any money. Now, Jay, like we were talking about how the Hawks not the Hawks. We were talking about how the Bucks actually did a good job of putting talent around Giannis. I think they did a good job. They made some miscues here and there. They dropped Brogdon. And when they should have kept Brogdon and kept Eric Bledsoe in place of him. And then they recently botched that deal with Bogdan, which ended him up on the Hawks instead. I thought that doing that would dissuaded Giannis from coming, because he really wanted him on the team. They also reported they wanted Bradley Beal on the team, couldn't get either one of them guys on the team. Do you think this was a smart decision by Giannis to stay with the Bucks? Do you think that he can actually win a title with the Bucks, or you feel like I saw somebody on Twitter say KG 2.0.
I can see that. I can see a KG 2.0. Somebody saying that about Giannis. But as far as me being surprised about him re-signing, when AD signed that max extension with the Lakers, I kind of felt at that moment, it was like that they had gotten word that Giannis was going to stay in Milwaukee, because I feel like if AD thought that he had a shot at getting Giannis to come to LA with him and LeBron, AD probably would have signed maybe a 1-and-1 deal or something like that with that player option on that second year instead of going ahead and signing the full max extension. So that's what made me think that they had already kind of heard, like, on some insider type thing, that Giannis was going to stay in Milwaukee.
I thought the same thing.
That is something that didn't cross my mind. I didn't even think about that aspect of it.
I thought about that when Bam signed his extension and when AD signed his extension. When both, because they were like the two teams I thought that Giannis would actually like really go to. When both those teams signed their extensions, I said, okay, the Heat must have heard that Giannis isn't coming, because at that point it'd have been almost impossible to get Giannis on the team after giving him the extension, having Butler still on the roster. Same thing with the Lakers, but. I'm still, like I said, I'm still surprised he's re-signed. I'm shocked, but then, like I said, looking at those two things, I'm not shocked. Now, can he win with the Bucks? Kind of like what Brandon was saying. I think that the Bucks, I think he kind of realized a lot of that series was on him. It was the fact that he wasn't able to play like an MVP caliber player. He was averaging 30 points in the regular season. He only averaged 22 points against the Heat. The Heat just completely took him out of his game. If he was the MVP version of himself, they at least that series goes at least 7, and there's a good chance they actually win it. But it's so much. I feel like that team could accomplish so much more if Giannis himself was so much better in the regular season. So that's why I can't be on like when AD was like putting up 30, 15, and like 3 blocks in a playoff series and then losing in 4 with the Pelicans. Like I can't say that. Well, AD could have done more in those series, and then he should just get back out there next year and try harder next year. I can honestly say that about Giannis. I was like this is a team that could get to the finals if the head guy actually did what he was supposed to do.
And that's the last thing that I was gonna bring up, Jordan. When I said I had something I wanted to bring up later, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Giannis signing this extension shows you that he blames himself for a lot of the stuff that has gone wrong in the past. He doesn't think, man, I'm doing as much as I can, and it's not working. He thinks, all right, cool, I need to be better. Like, he isn't taking the Ben Simmons approach to it and not getting better. He's literally working every offseason. We've seen even this past offseason, his jumper has gotten better. Like, so coming into this season, we expect it to be even better. So I feel like Giannis is like, all right, I'm going to sign this extension and I'm going to be the guy. And I'm going to be the guy who takes us over the hump. I'm not going to go somewhere else and let somebody else determine my legacy.
I'm gonna tell you what, it's admirable, but like, why I really wanted him to stay, because it's just, to me, it's so much better when there's like a great player on this team, a great player on that team, a great player here and there. When it's like 6 great players on 6 different teams and they're all competing against each other in the playoffs, to me, that's a lot more fun. That's why, as a fan, I want that. But as a player, he's gonna be competing against KD and Kyrie for like the next 2 to 3 years. Jaylen Brown and Tatum are all gonna keep getting better. Then you have the Heat are emerging power in the East. Like, you have so many great teams in the East that are still on the rise and like trending upwards. And eventually Bradley Beal can get traded to somebody else in the East. Somebody's gonna pick up Bradley Beal, and he's gonna make another Eastern team most likely a lot better. It just, if I was Giannis, I would see the writing on the wall, and I think to myself, can I beat these guys who are teaming up if I stay by myself? Because he's got Drew Holiday, but he's not like a top 20 player, top 25 guy. Like, can I beat these teams if I'm by myself? Like, Brandon and Jay, what do y'all think about that?
I kind of agree with you there, because now that I'm thinking about it, I kind of forgot that Drew Holiday got traded for like 3 first-round picks or something crazy. Like, that's a lot. Like, he's good. I don't think he's that good. I think you could have done that with Bradley Beal. If you wanted him that bad, you could have traded for him and given up 3 first-round picks and lived with it. But like, Drew Holiday is like, he's solid, and that's about it. I don't see them winning the East for 2 reasons. One, because in my personal opinion, I think that the Nets are going to come out. But 2, because I don't really enjoy Mike Budenholzer as a coach. Like, in terms of like, when we're given blame, Mike Budenholzer, for some reason, did not want to play Giannis over like 35 minutes, which was like the weirdest thing to me. Like, that's your star. It's not even like Giannis was hurt at that time or anything. He was literally just not playing him. Like, he's your star player. You have to play him. Him
and Middleton, like, they both weren't playing like heavy, like minutes you would expect a star and you're like your second best player to play in the playoffs. And I feel like that is one of the team's still biggest handicaps. It's like Budenholzer's philosophy and how he deploys Giannis in the regular season. Like, what do you think about that, Jay, as somebody who has experienced Budenholzer on his team?
I was gonna say, I got a lot to say about Mike Budenholzer. I think it's just I think that philosophy, it works. It wins a lot of games in the regular season, but when the playoffs come and you playing against more talented teams and the scheme is going to be pretty much the same from game to game, like, what you're going to get from the other side, you got to be making adjustments, and he was not doing that at all in the playoffs. No, he was just like he ran with the same game plan from game 1 of the season to whenever Miami put them out, and that was the undoing for the Bucks. It was almost like he was low managing Giannis in the playoffs. It was just like, well, it's too much going on this offseason. Let's just try to win it next year. That was almost what it felt like.
I was just as surprised as I am that Giannis resigned. I'm just as surprised that Mike Budenholzer is still the coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. After watching that series and hearing him say every post conference that, yeah, we failed today, but we're gonna just stick to what our game plan is because we know that's what's worked. And after kept losing and losing, he kept saying we're gonna stick to our game plan. No, I don't regret playing Giannis more minutes. I'm not gonna play Giannis more minutes. And then he went out there and did the exact same thing, not play Giannis more minutes. He didn't change their 3-point defense, which the Bucks' whole game plan is we're gonna give up 3-pointers and we're gonna defend every other part of the court. Even though the Heat were scorching hot, it's like we're gonna keep letting the Heat shoot threes. They're gonna eventually cool off, despite the fact he was adamant about not changing his game plan and getting put out in the second round by what was the 5th seed this year, I believe, in the East. Despite all that, he's still the head coach. And the opposite conference, another team that didn't live up to their reputation, which was the Clippers, their coach did almost the exact same thing. And he was fired. So like when Doc got fired, I said, "Oh, Budenholzer gone. There's no way he's gonna make it out alive too in this situation." But they kept him, and I think his seat's probably the hottest in the NBA right now. Like he won't see next year if they flame out again. He might not see next year if they lose in the conference finals. Honestly, like going to the finals might be the only thing that saves his job.
Okay. So I agree with you, Jordan, but I feel like this is just a short point. Then I'll let you go, Brandon. If Giannis plays great, he plays a lot of minutes, and they just run up on the Nets, and KD is KD, then I can't see him losing his job then. But that'll be a GM owner type thing because then like I need more talent. But go ahead, Brandon.
So to your like Doc point, I think the difference in that is like Doc was there for so long and still never made a conference championship. So in that sense, it's kind of like you had everything you wanted with Kawhi, like a superstar player in Kawhi, a star player for like a second guy in Paul George, and you didn't get the job done. That's and you blew a 3-1 lead. So that right there, time. Yeah. So at that point, you kind of have to let him go. I feel like Mike Budenholzer, even though we know his flaws, he hasn't been there as long. I think he's only been there for this is third year, maybe. I don't remember.
I think he's entered his fourth. So this might be his fourth year, his 4th season there. I might be wrong though.
So I would say I kind of agree with Jordan in a sense. Like if they don't even make it to the finals and they like flame out real bad to like the Nets, it could be a situation where he has to get let go. But I mean, I don't know. I think it also has to be blame. Like we said, it has to be blame on Giannis because I mean the man just cannot shoot, and everyone kind of knows how to game plan him a little bit more. And even with the players that they have, it's still like it's not. Drew Holiday's not going to bring you to a playoff series, win. You know what I mean? Like, and neither is Middleton. So I think it has to be kind of 50-50 on coach and star player at that point.
Drew's not going to break that glass ceiling for them. It's going to take Giannis actually internal improvement from him and as well as some good coaching. But like I said, I think the pieces are there for them to get to the finals. It just like the margin for error is a lot slimmer now that guys like KD and Kyrie are finally healthy. So let's talk about KD and Kyrie. We've seen him in the preseason. Kyrie looks as magnificent as he always do. Was no doubt that Kyrie's going to be that good, but we all know that KD tore his Achilles in the 2019 finals against the Raptors. My brain, man, it's gone. It's been a long week. He hasn't played basketball since then. He finally came out and he played in the preseason. He's played 2 games in the preseason. He played against the Celtics. I forgot who he played. He played against the Wizards in the first game. He looked very good, looked very comfortable. He took a lot of contested jumpers, made him over some people. He had one blow by dunk on someone, but that's because the defender was in no man's land. So he looked good. I'm like, okay, his shot's still there. But then watching the Celtics game, I saw a couple of times where he took Marcus Smart off the dribble, who's a guard, who's a very good guard defender. And so one thing I worried about KD upon his return was, I feel like his shot's going to still be there. He's still going to be a 7-foot, sniper. Nobody's going to be able to block his shot. But the problem is that KD, what made him so dangerous was he was 7 foot tall, but as quick as a guard. So he could cross you up, get to the rim. So I was wondering, like, how much would this impact his game getting to the rim? He looked amazing, though. Like I said, he looked pretty good. It's still preseason, still a long season to go. Really haven't been able to see how his one-on-one defense is, but it might not matter because, like I said, he's 7 foot tall. He can recover on you if you get bombed. Guys, do you believe in KD and Kyrie leading this Nets team? Do you believe these guys can mesh and make it work? Yeah, that's pretty much my question to y'all.
I do. I don't know why, but I actually do. I think when we were kind of worried when Kyrie made the statement. He was like, I don't know if me and KD really need a head coach on this team. But it looks like they got the training camp. They started kind of buying into Steve Nash's philosophy a little bit, and then you got Mike D'Antoni on the coaching staff. So you got guys that can lead an offense with a dynamic scorer as your number one option, a dynamic scoring guard. And Kevin Durant, offensively, he might be the most talented player that we've ever seen. So, like he can score at any level. He can score at any level. He can score on any defender. So when you got talent like that, and you can get the other guys on the roster to buy into your philosophy, you got a good enough team to win a championship.
They have a KD is without a doubt probably the most skilled in terms of scoring player I've ever seen. Just being able to get, because he can launch it, he can get a shot off at any point. At any point, he can get a shot at 3-point line, at mid range, at the rim. It's just a matter of if he wants that shot. And if he's just on that night, like, every once in a while he's gonna have like an off night, but more often than not, like, no defender can actually bother the guy. And the fact you have a tough shot maker in Kyrie next to him makes it even better, because you have another guy on your team that's just damn near unguardable. But the thing is that a lot of people believe that they're gonna be playing you go, I go, you go, I go. At this stage of their careers, Cam, do you think that's an effective method? Or do you think that they're gonna actually like buy into Steve Nash's philosophy? Because Kyrie did say that, I might have to take that comment back. I think I might have to rock with Steve Nash, the coach, which I thought was hilarious.
Well, first of all, I can't blame Kyrie. He is working under the best pure point guards to ever play the game of basketball. But also on top of that, we gotta look at the fact that so this is what I would say. Last year, their philosophy is what the Houston Rockets tried to do. It's what they tried to do with Russ and James Harden. The reason it did not work with that is because James Harden never bought into the fact that, all right, if I'm not on the ball, I actually need to move and try to get open. James Harden never bought into that. We're hoping that with Kyrie and Kevin Durant already being friends, which is actually what Russell Westbrook and James Harden were, already being friends, and them both hopefully buying into the Steve Nash coaching system, which definitely wouldn't be you standing in the corner and him doing his thing. It would be a lot of ball movement, a lot of player movement, and a lot of stuff like that. If they can buy into that, I think it can work. KD, if it would work with any two guys in the league, it would be KD and Kyrie. So I think it can work. And Kyrie burning his sage before the game, trying to get his mind right, trying to release all negativity. So I like it. I love it. And I want to see it happen, and I hope it works.
I think that they will. One thing is, too, they can play off each other. Like you said, like Harden and Westbrook, they couldn't really play off of each other because both of them are guards. Mm-hmm. So it's I'm going to do my thing on this side of the court, you do your thing on that side of the court. But they can run pick and pop, KD and Kyrie. And they can constantly keep each other involved in the offense by just doing that. Or just doing dribble handoffs. And like I said, that's one of the most deadly pick and pops in the world. If you got Kyrie coming off the screen, driving hard to the rim with KD popping into space. Like, I don't know exactly how you defend that. So Brandon, I'm gonna ask you first. I'm gonna ask you a very hard question. Is KD and Kyrie, will they be the best duo in the NBA this upcoming season? Will they upsert LeBron James and AD just as a duo? I'm not saying would the Nets be better than the Lakers, but you think those two would be a better duo than those two?
I'm gonna say no, but I think it's very close. Like AD, I think is gonna be playing on a different level even than last year, and LeBron's always going to be LeBron. But in terms of the East, I don't think anyone's even close in that duo at all. Like, as much as I love Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, they're not on that level. Giannis and Drew are not on that level. Bam and Jimmy Butler are not on. So they have by far the best duo in the East, and it's not close. And that's, to me, what's going to put them over the edge. And my only concern with the Nets in general is just the coaches that they have and the personnel that they have. They're going to have to score 130 a night because none of them can defend. I mean, KD's a pretty decent defender, but none of those dudes can defend. Jared Allen can block if he's in the paint, but that's about it. He can't guard anything.
They don't even start him, though. They don't even start him. That's the thing about it. They start DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah, well, but that's what I was going to say. DeAndre, I mean, he's going to play. I think he might play more minutes than DeAndre.
I hope so, for their sake.
And even then, DeAndre.
Should.
Yeah, and even then, DeAndre is not really that good of a defender anymore. I mean, Karis LeVert's okay. Spencer Dinwiddie's downright awful on defense. So, like, they don't have a great defender on that team. And with that philosophy of them, you know, they're going to, in the playoffs, they're going to have to get stopped. But luckily for them, I mean, they got two of the best scorers on the same team. And again, I don't think there's a duo that can outscore them. You know, so like defense is not going to be the biggest worry because they're going to be able to put up points no matter what. So do I think they're going to be better than LeBron and AD as a duo? No. They're more, I would say they're more like entertaining to watch as a duo.
I definitely
but
see that.
AD and LeBron defensively just usurps them. So for me, I would go AD and LeBron, but it's like 1A and like 1B type of stuff.
Jay, I'm not going to waste your breath asking you if you think that KD and Kyrie are going to be a better duo than LeBron and AD. I already know how you feel about that. For those who don't know, he going to say LeBron and AD, which, you know, I can't blame you at all. But I want to ask you this. What is the one thing you do not like potentially about this Brooklyn Nets team? Because like Brandon talked about the defense. Do you agree with that? Or you think that there's something else that we might not be touching on?
Well, the lack of defense, especially on the perimeter, is going to be an issue. And I think KD was a good defender before he tore his Achilles. He was never a great defender, but he was a good defender. The issue with the injury, especially now because he's probably lost a step, so you might have to play him more at the 4. And while offensively it's not gonna matter because KD can score on anybody, the issue is who can he guard? Because if you play in the 4, there are some guys in the league that it's gonna be tough for KD to guard. Because even in that preseason game against the Wizards, Rui Hachimura was attacking KD on offense. Like he was like, I want this one-on-one with KD because I know I'm gonna go in and score. And the lack of perimeter defense on that Nets team, plus having to play KD more on the inside, is gonna be an issue.
Luckily, KD at least has that length on him that he can block shots. And like I say, that's one thing that saves a lot of taller players, kind of like Michael Porter Jr., who's an awful defender, but at the same time, how he can still recover and block shots. I think KD will definitely be better than Michael Porter Jr. in that regard. But like I said, they don't really have any perimeter defenders. Like I think they got this one guy they traded for from the Pistons named Brown. I think he's been lauded as a pretty good perimeter defender. But then again, he's not going to be. I don't know how much they'll actually play to make a real difference on the defensive end. I do like their depth in terms of just like they have a lot of guys they can throw out in the court like Dinwiddie, LeVert. Like you can have them running like the second unit when KD and Kyrie are out there. And those two starter level players that can like man your entire bench unit. But Cam, what do you think is going to be their greatest flaw? Do you agree with just the defense?
Well, yeah, the defense, and another thing that I'm thinking about is too. Like this, and this is kind of a tough one, because if we're being completely honest, when KD has been the absolute true number one option, we saw him in OKC, and we're gonna see him this year. Mm-hmm. I mean, when we saw him in Golden State, obviously he had Steph and Clay there to try to they took some of the load off of him offensively, and Kyrie will be able to do some of that, but not to the extent that these guys those guys were able to. So I truly do feel like this is going to be a make or break season. I hate just coming off the first season that he's tore his Achilles, but this is going to be truly a make or break season for KD, because we're going to look at him a lot differently if he gets there and he loses to somebody like the Heat or he loses to somebody like the Celtics. So, I mean, I think the biggest flaw of this team could be whether or not KD can be that dog and can be that guy who's like, all right, y'all get out of my way. I'm finna go get a bucket. Like, I know he can do that, but can he do that? And this is the question that we always had when he was in OKC. I mean, when he was in Golden State. Like, that's why some of the people say the rings have an asterisk by him and stuff like that. Like, so this year, if he wins this year, no asterisk, no nothing. But if he doesn't, we're going to continue to question the kind of guy that he is.
That's very good. You know, NBA Twitter gonna do it if nobody else does. No,
Right.
NBA media is definitely gonna do it too. They're gonna eat that man alive. Word to Kyrie. But let's go on to the next topic. I'm gonna talk to you guys about the Hawks and the Wizards. We're gonna talk about J team and another Eastern hopeful team that's gonna want to be in the playoffs. So we're gonna just play a game. We're gonna talk about will the Wizards, will the Hawks, or will both make the playoffs? And I'm just gonna go around to each of y'all with that. You want to go first, Cam?
No, I don't.
Okay,
because I'm gonna look at the Eastern Conference teams right now. So y'all.
Okay, so I'll tell you the Eastern Conference teams that made it last year. The number 1 seeded team was the Bucks. Number seeded 2 team was the Raptors. 3rd team was the Celtics. 4th team was the Pacers. 5th was the Heat. 6th was the Sixers. 7th was the Nets. 8th were the Magic. So that means that you'd have to, if you think both, that means you had to think that 2 teams that were there last year are going to have to be out the picture. And if you think that one of them, then that means that you think that maybe like the Magic or something going to fall out. So, Brandon, I'll ask you then, Brandon, because you think you're thinking real hard. Do you think Wizards, Hawks, or both steal a playoff spot this year? And if so, what team do you think get annexed and gets kicked to the curb?
Okay, so wait, who was the 7th and 8th team?
The 7th and 8th team last year were the Nets, who now have KD and Kyrie. And then it was the 8th team was the Orlando Magic, who have gained nobody. They just lost people. Just got hurt. So
wow. That's tough. Because it's basically gonna come down to that 8th seed. Because I think the Pacers can take a step back, but I don't who's their coach now?
I was actually thinking about that when I made this topic earlier today. Like I was like, oh, Nick McMillan, he's been getting them to the playoffs comfortably. They've been like a 4th or 5th seed the past 2 seasons. I don't know who their coach is now because they fired him. His
name is Nate Bjorken.
No, I don't know.
All right, they're not making. All right, so, Jesus. All right.
There's also like the fact that they've been shopping guys like Oladipo and Miles Turner, so it could be they didn't manage to trade any of them guys in the summer, but it could be they just implode in the around the All-Star break, where like, all right, guys, we just don't care about our future with these 2 guys anymore. We're gonna just trade them, and they start trending downwards. But I don't think they've lost anybody to the point that if they've won enough games to be the 4th, 5th seed last year, that they'll be out the playoffs completely this year, unless they fall to the 7th seed and lose in the play-in tournament. But right now, I'm thinking about not even considering the play-in tournament, just considering 1 through 8 seed before the play-in tournament. Who do you have, Wizards, Hawks, or both being in that picture? Okay,
so I think the Wizards are going to make it because I do think Beal and Russ will be a very good duo, honestly. Mm-hmm. I like Rue. Bertans is a very good player that comes off, he could shoot any type of 3. Thomas Bryant's a pretty good center too. I don't think that team is by any means great or deep, but I think that those 2 of Beal and Russ can make it work. The Hawks is tough. The Hawks is so tough to me because I can't see a team that went and won 20 games last year just flip it around and go 8th seed. That's so, because I love Trae Young, I really do, and they did get pieces. I don't know if it's enough. The one team I'm looking at personally, it's the Bulls. I'm looking at the Bulls with Kobe White and Zach LaVine, Lauri Markkanen, and I think Billy Donovan's a good coach, and he really does well with point guards. Kobe White, I think, is going to be an extraordinary player this year. So I think I'm going to go Bulls at that 8th seed, and because the team by no means was great last year, but I feel like with the fact that Jim Boland was there, and he, as awful as he is, and Zach LaVine was kind of able to usurp that kind of bullshit that he was dealing with. Mm-hmm. I think Billy Donovan is going to upgrade that team to a playoff level. So I'm going to go Wizards, and then I'm going to go Bulls, and I think the Hawks would get that 9th seed. And I wouldn't be mad if they got it, because like I said, I love Trae Young, and I want him to prove that he's like an NBA superstar. You know what I mean? I think he's an all-star, but I think he could take that next level. But that defense is fucking putrid. It's just they can't guard shit. So
And that's what I was getting ready to say. So it looks like a lot of these teams that we're looking at this 7 through 10 seed in the Eastern Conference is going to come down to defense, because we got the Wizards down there who we question their perimeter defense, what it's going to look like with Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. Then we got the Bulls down there. We don't know what their defense is going to look like. We got the Hawks down there. We know that Trae Young can be a liability on the defense end. And then we're gonna have the Charlotte Hornets, who I actually really like. I really like them there. And I mean, it's gonna depend on how good LaMelo can be, and if Gordon Hayward can truly make a difference. I hope he can. Yeah, if he's healthy, and they're paying him $30 million, so I hope he can. Yep. But yeah, like it's. Yeah, he broke his finger already. I was finna send it to the group message and laugh, but no, like regardless of that, like it's gonna be a dog fight down there. I really want to see the Hawks make it, but I can't not say that the Wizards are gonna. I definitely know for sure. Like if I had to bet money, I know for sure that the Wizards are gonna make it, just because Russell Westbrook is gonna wheel that team to the playoffs somehow. And then the AC, I mean, I'd probably take the Hawks over the Bulls. I really like the Bulls, but I'd take the Hawks over the Bulls. So I say both of them. So, and with the Pacers and the Magic falling out.
So just a reference to y'all talking about how bad their defenses were. The Washington Wizards were ranked number 29th in defense last year. The only team worse than them in defense was the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Atlanta Hawks were ranked number 28th in defense last year. So they were, two very, very, very bad teams. So the question is, how can they improve there? Well, like you said, Brandon, you said, how can the Hawks win, or how can the Hawks like add on like an additional 20 wins to their season? It's gonna be tough, but the thing is, they spent like $50 million worth in free agents and money this free agency. They brought in Danilo Gallinari, they brought in Bogdan, they brought in Chris Dunn, Rajon Rondo. Like I said, not really defenders, but they are competent role players that a team was desperately needing. Like that last year, it was just Trae Young, a bunch of young guys, and Clint Capella, who didn't play last year either. Clint Capella is also there, who should help make their defense considerably better, because that's what he did for the Rockets. So the hope is that Trae Young's gonna keep being this guy who can give you 30 and 10. The Cam Reddish and DeAndre Hunter are going to continue to grow as perimeter wing players who can play defense at a high level. Cam Reddish definitely seems like he's moving in that direction. I haven't seen as much Hunter to say how well he is on defense. And also Collins, I think, is also kind of solid on defense as well at his position. At the 4.
And they added they'll get Clint Capella in the season too.
Exactly. See what I'm saying? They didn't really have Clint Capella last year. He'll finally be healthy this season, so he should help out.
Not to mention the kid they drafted too with the number 6 pick.
I know nothing about him, to be honest with you. What school did he play for?
USC.
Yeah, he's a center, right?
Yeah, he's a center.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna go both. I say both teams make the playoffs. Like Brandon said, and Cam said the same thing. Russell Westbrook, you adding a player of that level to a team like Washington. I mean, he's not necessarily a plus defender, but it's similar to the Wall and Beal tandem. When you replace Wall not playing at all, Wall didn't play at all last year, and Washington was ninth. They still made it to the bubble. They didn't make the playoffs, but you replace no production from Wall with a player like Russell Westbrook. That almost, I mean, you can't lock in a playoff berth probably, but when you got a player like Westbrook and you got a coach, Scott Brooks, who knows Russell Westbrook's game because he coached him in OKC, I think that makes a difference. I think the Hawks also make the playoffs. The players that we added, you got Gallinari is a great shooter. Bogdanovich is a great shooter. This might be a hot take. So, this is what I think about Chris Dunn. I think Chris Dunn is the NBA's best defensive guard.
You know what? I'm with you on this. No. I'm with you on this. I actually wanted Chris Dunn on the Clippers because that's what our backup that's what our bench desperately needs. We need some wing defenders on the bench, and I was like, please get Chris Dunn because he's a very underrated defender off the bench. He don't really get talked about because he played for the Bulls, and they're like,
you're right. And
good
I think he should have made an all defensive team last year. If I'm remembering, I want to say he was 11, so he was one spot off from making the all defensive team. And I think the Bulls were misusing him because they were using him as a point guard, and he's not that type of player. He can't run an offense.
No,
he's a defender, a lot in the mind of what Tony Allen was for them Celtics teams. That's how I see Chris Dunn. That's how I hope the Hawks coaching staff sees Chris Dunn. I hope they don't run him out there trying to play point guard. He's not a point guard. And I think the Magic missed the playoffs. I think them not having Jonathan Isaac makes a big difference.
Yes.
Especially defensively. I think defensively that makes a big difference for that team. And I think Indiana falls out. Whether, there are teams that are going to be looking at trying to trade for Oladipo and going to try to be trading for Miles Turner. Also, they lost Nate McMillan, and I think he's a really good coach. And he also, when they fired him, he joined the Hawks coaching staff as an assistant. So I think that makes a difference.
Okay, underrated signing for the Hawks because he could potentially make their defense a lot better.
Oh, and I forgot about Chris Dunn because I was thinking, like, who did they sign that was a good defender? And you said Chris Dunn, and then Rajon, who, when he wants to, he can be a pretty good player for the team.
Right.
So I'm actually going to switch that and say both of them are going to make it now because I forgot about Chris Dunn, and I think he's super underrated as a player. I think the Bulls misused him completely. So I think the only thing is Lloyd Pierce going to use him the right way, like Jason, like, a guy who's not a guy who runs the offense, which I think they will because they have Rajon to run the second offense. So
well, and the great thing is about that is that you say you hope they don't, Jay, you said you hope they don't go out there and run them at the point guard. Great thing is when you take Trae Young, who is one of the best point guards in the league, out, guess who you got coming behind him? Rondo. So I mean, he literally can play off the ball all game long.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it was kind of funny. Like, you got Trae Young, then you got who you got coming out the bench, right? John Rondo. It's a chasm between the two. I thought that was just.
Oh, of course, but
I know what you were saying, but it was just hilarious.
And I do think Rondo, he's not as good of a defender as he was when he was in Boston, obviously, but I do think he can run an offense. So I think he'll do a good job at running the offense with that second unit because I think he sees the floor very well.
Yeah, he'll create he'll create easy buckets and opportunities for the young guys in that second unit. And like I said, I think and with the fact that they signed both of them, that means that they plan to probably deploy Chris Dunn more so as a defensive guard and wing, and so make him like, hey, Chris Dunn, we want you to run the second unit. We want you to be the backup point guard behind Trae Young. So I think that the Wizards definitely get in. I think the Hawks are going to have to fight tooth and nail. I don't know if they'll be the 8th seed. I hope they are because I'm a big Trae Young fan myself. I hope he gets 8th seed. If not, I do think the Hawks beats out whoever is the 8th seed. If it's not the Wizards, whoever, I feel like they win it. They get in off the play-in, if the very least. But I like the additions they made. I had said all last year. I said people saying like, "Oh, Trae Young isn't as good as Ja Morant because he don't win." Because Ja Morant's in the playoffs and because Ja Morant's in the playoffs and then Trae Young isn't, and Luka Doncic's in the playoffs, but Trae Young isn't. I'm like, those guys have veterans on their teams, and they had like the Grizzlies had people like Jay Crowder and Valanciunas. Jay Crowder is a vet. Like they didn't have.
No. We got Jay Crowder now. No, I'm saying, but Jay Crowder wasn't playing for the Grizzlies. They traded him though. Traded him.
No, see, he was hooping before that though, and after they traded him, actually after the deadline, the Grizzlies started losing games. Like after they got rid of a lot of those vets, they started actually losing games. They got rid of Solomon Hill, a couple of other guys. They actually started losing games, and that's when they started trending downward. And that's why they even got into the play. Well, they were gonna be in the play-in. No. That's why they got in the play-in situation because they only had to be like more than 3 games in front of the 9th seed, but they started losing. The 9th seed actually was able to catch up to them. And that's why, because like I said, got rid of those vets to the deadline and they started to hurt them. And Luka Doncic, incredible player, but he's also on a vet-laden team. Like all those guys on his team are like Barea, Seth, Kleber, I'm drawing a blank on the Mavs roster, but there's a lot of guys on there who know how to win. Also, they have like an elite coach in I'm drawing a blank in Carlisle. So I feel like a lot of people gave Trae Young to shorten the stick. I'm like, y'all, he hooping out there with like two first-year, second-year players playing the shoot guard and small forward next to him, and then his supposed to be second best player missed like 40 games because he juiced up like think he DeAndre Ayton. So I was like, what y'all want Trae Young to do, man? He could. So I think like I think that's another thing too we have to take into account. Like, yeah, they were missing Capella last year, but they missed Collins for like 20-something games, and like I feel like just having him back there is also almost like a free agent signing. Like I feel like they added and like added an entire starting roster.
Man.
Off season.
Yep.
Your boy ain't gonna be good this season, Cam.
That's between him and his trainer. Hey man, we missed him for 25 games last year and still almost made the playoffs. So let's hopefully he doesn't. Hopefully he doesn't get on whatever he was on last time. But
he gonna go vegan. He gonna go vegan with Chris Paul. That's all he gonna do.
Man, he needs to. I don't know what he needs to.
All right, so let's see. What do we want to talk about next? Okay, let's talk about James Harden. James Harden, James 4PF Harden has finally came and reported to training camp. He finally came to training camp, finally participated in preseason games. He's finally joined the team. He looks a couple pounds heavier, not a lot though. I think that picture got blown out of proportion.
Yeah.
James Harden didn't gain 60 pounds while he was at the strip club in Vegas.
He's a solid 250.
The wings at the strip club weren't that nutritional, but
it changed your life though.
Hey, you know, don't you? You know, don't you? Don't don't you?
But anyway, I'm honestly surprised because a lot of times things like this happen, the player ends up getting traded. I guess one thing I want to ask y'all is, were the Rockets right to stand firm and make him come to training camp and not choosing to just like, okay, we're gonna just give in to Harden, we're gonna just trade him and get whatever we can so we don't have to deal with him coming to training camp and causing problems so we can start fresh? Or do you guys feel like they were wrong for doing this and now they're bringing in a disgruntled star that everybody knows doesn't want to be there? John Wall says, I haven't talked to James Harden about this at all because that's his business, not mine. And the potential could drag on into the regular season because the regular season literally starts in 3 days.
2 days. Yeah, 3 days.
Yeah, 3 days. So it very easily could drag into the regular season unless we get a Woj bomb while we're recording, like we did about Gordon Hayward last time we recorded. But yeah. So do you think the Rockets are wrong for what they're doing right now with Harden?
I think in this situation with Harden and the Rockets, I think both sides are just doing what they think is in their best interest. James Harden doesn't want to be there. He feels like the organization has not had his back the way they needed to, as far as bringing him the right guys. I mean, they gave him Russell Westbrook. Before that, he had Chris Paul. Now they got John Wall, and he just, if he doesn't want to be there, I kind of see his point. He's worried about what's in his best interest, and I guess that's his business. But as far as the Rockets are concerned, we got probably a top 5 or 6 player in the league. He's on our team. We're not just gonna let him go for nothing. We need a team to offer up compensation that we think is worthy. So no, I'm not just gonna send him to Cleveland for Kevin Love and Darius Garland or something like that. Is that we're gonna field offers, see if we can get a young star and some picks and some young players. So I see both sides. Both sides just trying to look out for themselves. They're not really worried about the other party and all.
Yeah, like Brandon, like something is on your mind, man. Go ahead, speak your truth.
Listen, look, I wanna fuck James Harden, bro.
So you don't want James Harden on the Celtics? Is that what you're saying?
It's hard to say I don't want him because he's like Jay said, he's a top 5-6 player in the league. But like, bro, I mean, they gave him everything he asked for. Like, and he chased them all out. Dwight didn't like being there. Chris Paul didn't like being there. Russ is his best friend, and he was like, please get me off this fucking team. Like, at what point can we, like, is it not James Harden's fault? Or is it James Harden's fault? You know what I mean? Like, we got to give him most of the I mean, granted, the people who were there, like Daryl Morey and Mike D'Antoni, let James Harden do what he wanted, and they're not there anymore. And now James Harden's pissed about it. It's like, at what point are we like, come on? You know what I mean? Like, he's out here. Yeah. Like, I don't mind him going and partying and shit. Like, that's not the problem. The problem for me is that he's acting like this because he's not getting his way right now with who he wants there. And it's like, I think that the front office should just trade him at this point. Because I don't really see the benefit of just having him pissed off on your team. You know what I mean? Like, it makes no sense to just have him there and be miserable. I mean, you saw him in preseason; he was just kind of standing around and shit. Like, if he didn't have the ball,
he didn't play off form already. Standing around is customary. That's nothing new. He wasn't gonna do that regardless. But I agree with you. Like, we've already talked about it ad nauseam on this podcast a couple of episodes ago. We talked about how it's ownership problem and it's also James Harden problem. And like, I agree. Like, it's weird for Harden to kind of act like the organization, I gave them everything I got and they didn't do nothing for me. But the organization is they've done everything they possibly could for James Harden. So it's just weird to see him like throwing a temperature tantrum. So like, at the very least,
so
he could be patient. He could be patient and like wait for like the trade to actually happen and understand like, okay, I did sign a 5-year with these guys. I do still have 3 years on my contract. Naturally, they're going to want assets back for me. So, you know, I feel like he should be a little bit more understanding in that regard. I understand he cares about his career as well, but the thing is, if you're going to demand a trade, you got to also think like the team is going to also operate in their best interest. They're not going to up to this point, they've always been acting in James Harden's interest, and now James Harden saying, forget y'all. Well, he's like, well, forget you too, Harden. Like, we're going to do what we think is best for us. What you got to say, Cam?
And the most amazing thing about this is that, well, for one, Jordan, I feel like he hasn't really just said F the team yet. I feel like he hasn't really said that yet. Like, I feel like he's been bad, but I feel like he could have actually been worse. And the amazing thing is the NBA is the player empowerment. Oh yeah, get him out of that bad situation league. And literally there is no one of record, no one who can agree with the way James Harden is handling this. No. So this is really amazing. But I'm going to take this at a different angle. And I'm going to take this. I don't know how many gamers we have that watch this show, but I'm going to take it this way. So literally every 2 to 3 years in the NBA, there's a superstar available in some regard. You got James Harden now. You got Anthony Davis a couple of years ago. And then, I mean, every so often, there's a superstar available. If we look at 2K and you play my career mode or you play association mode, that rarely is an option. So I feel like 2K, y'all should and put an option on the game to where every couple of years there's a disgruntled superstar and there's one available. So 2K, if you're out there listening, please make that happen because it's really hard playing the line in these leagues.
Cam, I didn't know where this conversation was going, but okay.
But yeah.
Cry for help, please. I can't wait for Dunn to get this episode.
But yeah.
All right. So Brandon, so most likely, I don't think the Celtics have been mentioned as a team that will even trade for James Harden. But just to entertain the idea, would you entertain a picks, Brown, and Smart deal for James Harden? There ain't no strip clubs. Ain't no famous strip clubs in Boston. I think he'd be fine there.
You're not gonna be worried about him partying. You're not gonna be worried about him partying. He might go to Hard Rock Cafe or something, but he's not going to those strip clubs in Boston.
Hard Rock Cafe.
He's definitely not going to any strip clubs in Boston. That's for shit sure. But that would just make him more miserable.
No, you're
honestly.
right.
I mean, he just gonna get the team playing and fly to Vegas though. So.
That's exactly what he's gonna do. He's gonna just be going every day. It's time to practice. Tatum will be there by himself, getting better. Harden gonna be on the other side of the country, making somebody else's pockets better. But a sleeper team could be the Atlanta Hawks. You know, that might be what Lil Baby been doing all this time. I've been recruiting. You don't know.
What would the Hawks give up?
I mean, technically,
actually, they could. I can see they would have to the deal. One of the young wings, John Collins, will probably be involved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say anybody outside of Trae Young would be on the table.
Yeah.
You probably got if you're looking at the young wings, Hunter, Reddish, and Herter, it's probably at least one of them, possibly two of them, John Collins and picks. Maybe something else to fill salary if you need it. Then I could.
Man, that would be a ugly team, man. Trae Young and James Harden. Oh my goodness.
That backcourt might give up 200 points a game.
like just the backcourt, not even
the rest of the team, just them two.
That's the backcourt. Even if nobody getting past Capella, that backcourt might give up 200 points a game.
Yeah.
God. I don't think they do that anyway, but it was just a funny thought to play with. Also, I don't think they can, because I think the only people on the roster that's making any real money are the guys they just signed. So they'd have to wait to the deadline when those guys like Gallinari, Bogdan would actually be eligible to be traded. So you had to include one of those guys you just signed in the deal in order to get James Harden. So that James Harden he's not gonna still be on the Rockets at the trade deadline. He's gonna be traded within maybe the next month or so. I would think they can't drag this on much longer.
I can't imagine him staying in Houston. That's just, I think that bridge is completely burned down into dust. There's just no way. Yeah. And as far as him, when you asked if I would trade him for him, if I'm the Celtics, I mean, one, it doesn't matter because Danny Ainge isn't gonna fucking do it anyway because he doesn't trade. But two, I don't even know what that team would be with Brad Stevens as the coach, because he's not a guy that's just an
enforcer.
Yeah, I don't know if that would be a great trade, but I mean, at this point, it wouldn't hurt too much. I would just kind of be pissed because I don't think he would stay long term.
Yeah, a Tatum Harden team would actually. That sounds kind of compelling, actually.
It does.
It's just funny thinking that I can see Brad Stevens, that goofy looking face he had on his face when his team's out there doing nothing. He just sit there and looking at him. I can see Harden, I see him chilling all right guys, we're gonna move the ball, and then Harden going out there and just ISO. And Brad Stevens just sitting there just standing, not saying nothing, just watching them do it. And kind of like he did in the bubble. He did the bubble saying, all right, y'all, it's a zone, move the ball, and then Tatum them ISO. And then God. But anyway, I think that Harden ends up ultimately on the Heat or the Sixers. I think that's just, even though I think that the teams are posturing, but I think that's where he's going to end up. It's just a matter of time. I don't know which team. I think both teams got the tools to get him. It's just a matter of them being all right, y'all, we want Harden. I feel like the 76ers definitely should have jumped on it more so than the Heat. But our last topic, because we've been here a minute, it's been a while. I want to talk to you guys about your boy Brandon, another player that you really love, Rudy Gobert, has turned down. Well, he's been negotiating a supermax extension with the Jazz, to which the Jazz said, hell no, we'll give you a max extension. To which Rudy Gobert was like, nah, I don't want a max extension. I'm worth the supermax extension. Guys, it seems so weird because Rudy Gobert is a defensive player of the year candidate, top 3 guy every single season. The Jazz have been number 1, 2, or 3 in defense almost every year since he's been on the roster, with largely due to his impact on the defensive end. You ask some analytic people on Twitter. I don't talk to him. You ask them. You ask some analytic people on Twitter. Rudy Gobert is technically a top 10 player in the league. I don't think he's top 20, 25. I wouldn't. He's probably 25, 30 maybe. But
the demand rankings coming soon, by the way.
What is Rudy Gobert's actual value? Because is he not worth the supermax? Is he not worth even the max? Is he worth just a vet million? What do you guys think?
Vet minimum.
See, the thing about Gobert, Gobert, he actually has a lot of leverage in this situation because it's not about whether he's worth the Supermax deal or not. It's about because it's about him knowing that Utah knows they got to keep him.
Yeah.
It's similar. I know Hawks fan, but it's similar to the $100+ million contract that the Hawks gave Joe Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
The Hawks were maybe a 4 seed in the playoffs. We might win a first round series, and Joe Johnson was the best player on the team. Joe Johnson becomes a free agent, and you know he's not worth the max money. But you give him the max money because if you decided between keeping this player and overpaying him or becoming irrelevant pretty much.
Yeah.
Because Rudy Gobert's production on the defensive end, where do you replicate that from if you're Utah?
You don't.
Well, and so the thing is here, it's not the fact that he isn't worth the max, I feel like. I think the thing is now that he has been defensive player of the year a couple of times and he's been like all defensive team and all NBA team, the thing is he can demand the Supermax. Like he can actually get it. And that's just not something that they want to give him. Like a Supermax is supposed to be reserved for the top 10 to 12 guys in the NBA. And you got guys like Giannis getting it. You got guys like AD, James Harden, Steph Curry getting it. I guess Russell Westbrook got it at one point in time. But, like, you know, you see how bad of contracts those end up being. Hold on one second, sorry. Okay. But anyway, yeah. But, like, you see guys getting it, and then those end up being really bad contracts. And they, like, the Jazz really don't want to be in this situation where they got Donovan Mitchell. Like, he's paid, right? Donovan Mitchell's been paid, right? You got Donovan Mitchell. And then they know for a fact they've seen years after year, this team is not good enough to get you to the finals. This team isn't good enough to get you anywhere. So they know that they can't pay this man this much. It's going to come down to either Gobert settling, because no one is going to get, like, you can't get, I don't know if you can get the Supermax from any other team, but no one is going to pay him. He's not going to be as valuable outside of Utah anywhere else in the league. Somebody might pay him, but then he ends up not winning anything probably for the rest of his career, going to a team like Cleveland or something like that. So, you know.
He definitely is leveraging, like they said, his value to the team more so than his market value. His market value isn't worth the Supermax. Like nobody in the league would give him that. But in terms of the team, like he is kind of irreplaceable almost. But the issue is that if you give him that money, then that's you locked in. Like that's who your two players are for the future is Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert. Like Cam said, that ain't winning you a title in the West. No matter unless you go back to the bubble and D-Mitch drop 50 every game again. That's the only way.
Barely getting you out of the first round in the West.
Apparently not at all. So even down Mr. dropping 50, you still ain't gonna get out the first round. So the thing is, and also if you let him walk, then you run the risk of your team taking a massive step backwards, and then you end up ruining. You may end up making D-Mitch unhappy because your team isn't winning. And then he might become a disgruntled star, and then he might turn James Harden and be like, I want to leave. And, you know, that's not what you want to run the risk of. But I will say, the Clippers, speaking from the Clippers experience, we had a similar situation with our defensive player of the year caliber center, DeAndre Jordan, where he was wanting a max contract after Chris Paul left. And he didn't even want a Supermax. He just wanted the max. And that was after Chris Paul and Blake had left. And the Clippers were like, there's no reason to invest that much money in a center. Like, no reason to give like a max contract to a guy who can only defend and defend the rim and only do dunks and can't really provide much else to the team. Those guys, you can find stopgap people. We're just going to let him walk. And so the Clippers let him walk, which then, you know, they allowed them to upgrade in other positions and eventually get guys like PG and Kawhi to come. Granted, they're in LA, so that's why they were able to get those two guys. Now, if you're the Jazz, you're like, okay, we'll just let Rudy Gobert walk and we'll just sign somebody else. Now you run the risk of who's going to come to Utah. Who are you going to realistically sign to like even if you have the money and the assets to get the money to get a center, how are you going to realistically convince somebody, hey, come sign and be our starting center over going to like Miami or maybe going to the Lakers or going anywhere else that's more appealing and making us around the same amount of money? You're just not. James Harden definitely ain't going there. So, but anyway, but so his actual, go ahead, Brandon, what you got to say?
So I was actually I agree with everything you said, because I think if you let Rudy Gobert walk, I think the attraction of playing with Donovan Mitchell could be enough. And they always have a very solid team around him. It's not like, you find a guy, you get on the Jazz and like there's like they've had like guys like Jake Crowder there, Jordan Clarkson's become really good there. So like they're able to coach players that aren't
Hayward.
Yeah. So they're able to coach guys that aren't exactly like great, and then they turn out very well. Jordan Clarkson's like a 6th man of the year candidate. But what I want to happen, what I truly hope happens, is that Rudy Gobert signs the Supermax.
Okay.
Realize that they're a top, their max is like 4 or 5 seed, second round exit. Donovan Mitchell is sick, already doesn't really like Rudy Gobert, demands a trade, and the Celtics get him. That's what I want. That's what I hope happens. I think Jazz Nation deserves Rudy Gobert on that team for the rest of their life. I really do. I really think Rudy Gobert is the answer for Jazz Nation. I really do. I really believe that. So I think they should sign him to a super duper max contract for $300 million. And then Donovan Mitchell can come to us. And we can give you Marcus Smart. We can give you, Daniel Tice. We can give you Semi Ojeleye. And maybe a first round pick or 2 or 3 or 4. I don't care. But Donovan, I want you on the Celtics. That's a message to Donovan Mitchell and to Utah Jazz.
Or the Celtics could use their $27 million trade exception, and they could absorb Rudy Gobert's contract, and then Rudy Gobert could be a Boston Celtic.
I like this.
That's the worst thing you've ever said. Don't ever do that to me. Don't ever fucking do that to me. I would switch teams immediately. Not even a question. I would rather be a Lakers fan than have Rudy Gobert in that fucking. No. I don't care if Rudy Gobert is the best defensive player we've ever seen.
He can guard him. Can he guard Embiid? How does Rudy Gobert usually do?
He can guard Embiid.
He can't guard Embiid. No one can guard Embiid. The only person that can guard Embiid is his stamina. That's it.
Oh boy.
Fuck out of here.
We need a Harden and Embiid tandem. We need them in Philly. That's what we want to see.
Yeah, that's what we want. That's what I want. I think that'll be the ideal, most fun place for him to be, is for Harden to be on the Sixers, competing against Kyrie and KD on the other side.
And then he can run Embiid off, and he can come to the Celtics.
I have a suggestion.
What's up, Cam?
Indiana has a lot of disgruntled players. Houston has a disgruntled player, and Utah also has a disgruntled player. I say somehow we find a way to get those guys out of those situations, and then we get James Harden and Rudy Gobert in Indiana, coached by Nate Bjorken.
I think James Harden would retire right there. I think he would say, "Keep your money. I don't want it. Keep it. I'm good. I'm good.
I'm good.
We're gonna wrap with Lil Baby, and we're gonna call it a day."
I'll live off Adidas.
He's gonna permanently play in the Drew League.
All right, guys. We've been here a while. Do you guys have any closing thoughts before we go?
Brandon, how much do you like the Celtics this year? I don't know if I've asked you this, because I don't know how much I really like the roster this year, as much as last year at least.
I honestly don't even have an answer for you, because they once again didn't do much to their bench. I mean, I like Tristan Thompson, so that's a good signing. I was kind of happy with that. Don't give a shit about Jeff Teague that much.
I didn't even know y'all got him.
Yeah, they signed him for a vet min, so it's whatever. Jeff Teague is fine, I guess. The rookies are fine. I'm not too mad at that. Last year's rookies are fucking garbage. I don't care. I just hope Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown make an all-star team. Kemba Walker's healthy, and I'll call it a day. I put no expectations on this team anymore because honestly, every time I do, they make it to a conference finals and then they shut themselves. So what reason do I do what I can?
It's because y'all bitches has so many young, unproven players on it. I'm just so confused. Like, y'all draft 6 people. I'm like, okay, they're gonna be in the G League or they're gonna be third string. No, they the second string. They the bench.
No, they finna play.
We don't sign anybody. They refuse to sign veterans. They're like, yeah, you know what? We're gonna let this 22-year-old play 30 minutes a game. We're gonna let Semi Ojeleye, who literally can't do anything, play. He's horrible. He's worse than Yabasul, who literally was there to play cheerleader. That's it. Yeah. Semi Ojeleye doesn't even have a personality. He's just there.
Yeah, between
like, yeah, you know what? 35 minutes for him. Why?
Between Brad Wanamaker, Semi Ojeleye, Grant Williams, and what's the other Yabasul? Between those 4, I was playing with the Celtics one time on 2K. I was like, get the starters in the game, like please.
Me and Jay in the basketball group chat, and they talked to what's his name again? Wanamaker. They talk about Wanamaker every single day. How much they hate that man. That shit used to have me hurt.
Bro, I'm so glad he's off our team. He's on the Warriors, so I don't have to worry about him. But I was really hoping we were gonna get rid of Semi because it's like at least let Romeo Langford play. Like he was promising in college and whatever. But they're gonna Brad Stevens for some Semi Ojeleye has something on Brad Stevens. He's got black. Because he keeps fucking playing, and I can't stand it. I can't. I'm so done with Semi Ojeleye. I would rather.
Oh, I follow so many Celtics fans. I think it's because being a Clippers fan, I can't stand the Lakers, and I guess when I make non-Laker tweets, they follow me, and so it's so funny because I've just seen like the preseason they've been talking about Romeo Langford and Semi Ojeleye being bad. I'm sorry, it's so funny.
I don't get Danny Ainge's plan. Like, you got 100 picks, but you already got your stars. Just let the picks go. Get some established guys and build that team.
The picks? Like, why? Why do we have him? He's not even that, like, honestly, drafting-wise, I really don't think he's, like, that great. Like, he got Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, which is great, but they were also top 3 picks. Like, once he gets deeper in the draft, in the middle, he usually picks the wrong guys. Like Carson Edwards. What? Fucking horrible.
I mean, technically, like them guys are all like 11 to 20. Like they're not even like second round picks. A lot of those guys are like first rounders that you guys took, and they just don't really do much of anything. They ain't specialists. Like usually you find specialists in that like 15 to 30 range. Like I'm not even sure what those younger guys are supposed to do. The white guy Pritchard, he seemed like he might do something.
White guy.
I mean, he's a specialist. He's a specialist though. He's a sharpshooter. That might be. He might be able to play a decent role.
You know what I'm saying?
I actually like Pritchard and I like Aaron Nesmith because he could shoot threes and hopefully take Semi's minutes. But like, I hope that trade exception we get like a playmaker because like I don't know when Kemba's going to come back, and he's also not like an exceptional playmaker. Like as much as I didn't want Hayward back, he was in his role. He was the guy who was setting up the offense and setting screens and all that shit. He can score 15 to 16 points. So like. He was good in that sense. He just couldn't stay healthy. So if we could find someone like that with our trade exception, I'll be very happy about it. But I don't know where to even begin with that. So for now, I'm just hoping Tatum and Brown score 25 points a game, and I'll be happy.
Also, shout out to the Boston Celtics players. They got together and they still been working hard, continue to work they carried over from the bubble, still being very much political. And they released an article, they released an article as a team together, and they had Jaylen Brown's name on it. They had everybody's name on it. And one of the quoted tweets, I said, oh man, this is amazing. I want to see everybody celebrating this. I want to quote tweets that said, you can't do this with Gordon Hayward on your team. I was like, that's so true. That's so true. So
you really couldn't. And that's why I stay in Jaylen Brown till I'm dead because he's
an amazing player,
an exceptional human.
That's why Michael Jordan wanted Gordon Hayward. Makes sense, man.
Yeah, I'm glad. Republicans buy shoes too, Cam. Oh man,
my third eye is open.
I saw someone on Twitter say that when Gordon Hayward signed with Charlotte, he thought it was Charlottesville. That shit had me cracking up. But all right.
Oh, snap.
Oh man,
I'm done, bro. I'm done.
That's messed up, bro.
All right. We've had a lot of fun here. I think we can call it quits here. Brandon, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for coming on again. Appreciate you helping us out here. Jay, glad to have finally had you on. Hopefully, you want to be on again in the future.
definitely. I want to be on here. I want to be on here with Cord.
Oh yeah. We're gonna put some money together, get him a new router or something.
Or something. Let's get him a Christmas. Let's get him one for Christmas.
Yeah, just send it in the mail. Get maybe a router on his front door. But all right, thank you all. Thank you all for tuning into another episode of the Pop of the Man podcast. Tune in next week for another episode of your favorite podcast.